Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Paris Monroe. Welcome to another segment of Dr. M Open Sessions. Today I have with me a special friend, special guest that I've known for quite some time now. His name is Mr. Jim Conrad. Good to meet you, Jim. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Paris.
Thanks for coming by.
Oh, thank you.
Jim was a war veteran, Vietnam War. He was in the Air Force from 1965 to 1969. He served in Vietnam all those years. He was a combat medic, is that correct? Combat medic? Mm-hmm. And so he saw plenty of sights and sounds of Vietnam. He spent, how long were you over there then?
I was there a year, a little over a year.
Okay. So you worked with a lot of the injured
I did.
Veterans.
I sure did.
Not just Air Force, but anyone.
Air Force, anyone. Right.
So,
at first it was in a hospital ward in Cam Bay, and then when I was a rescue medic, I was all over the place.
They flew you to all sorts of different places.
All sorts of, into LZs, landing zones, and picked up all Army, Marine.
So you were on choppers a lot?
I was.
Come into the landing site somewhere, pick up the men, load them up as fast as you can, get the heck out of there.
Yes.
Take them back to base,
yes.
Unload them.
Unload.
Did you, well, you obviously provided some sort of medical help right at those times too then.
I did.
When you picked them up, it was, you did something, bandaging, tourniquets, whatever you could do.
I did what I call a lot of MacGyvering. We didn't always have the exact things we needed, but we made with what we had.
You worked with some good guys?
I worked with some awesome guys.
They did everything they could to help those guys out?
95%, yes.
So you did a good job over there?
By the grace of God.
Yeah. Any special stories, incidents, or whatever that came out of that?
When I was, I didn't volunteer, I was asked to volunteer for classified assignment, and I was 23 years old, and of course I wanted to be a man. And the chief said, Jim, if you volunteer for this and you were to get killed, no record. If you make it back, no record. It's classified for X number of years. So we never were in Laos or Cambodia, but if we had been, I was a POW for almost 4 months. And after, the best we can tell, about 2.5 months, there was a guard that he's acting a bit different than the others. He wasn't as cruel. And he got shot in the right shoulder, and I didn't want to do it, but I was able to speak. I spoke Vietnamese. I had to break my anonymity, and I said, let me help you. And that's the last thing I wanted to do. And I'm not going to go into all the language and stuff that I said, but my guys, there were 5 of us, they said, Jim, you can help him. I said, what's that going to get us? He said, one guy who was a great Christian guy said, Jim, I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but think about us, okay? I said, okay. So I told him, I said, you've been shot in the right shoulder. Let me help you. And he said, what? Why would you help me? I said, because one of us, hopefully both of us, are going to get out of here. Chances are you first. But if you don't let me help you, you're going to bleed out within 3 hours.
Then it's going to be me first.
That's exactly right. You're going to bleed out within 3 hours. And he said, okay. So as I alluded to earlier, I didn't have much, but I did some MacGyvering. And every day I would do the best that I could with what I had. And after 3 weeks, a little bit more, it was early evening, and he walked right up to where we were caged in, and kind of looked around. I think, what's he looking for? And I know now he was looking to see if he was being observed. And he went like this with his right shoulder, and he looked directly at me, and he winked at me. And I thought, I'm going to get raped, killed, all the above. And in perfect English, he said, Jim, what? What? He said, shh. He said, I'm going to drop a little package about like so square. And he said, it's got directions on how to get back to safety, to get back to your base camp. And at the very bottom, he said, there is a small note that's wrapped. Don't you read it until you get back to your base camp at Cameron Bay. So we got out, all 5 of us.
So you opened up, when he dropped it, he took off, you opened up the package, and sure enough, it was
And sure enough,
that's remarkable.
And
that's quite a story.
what is even, I think,
Because there was many other guards there,
oh,
all sorts of stuff, many other prisoners, I assume.
many,
But you and your other 4 guys, is that what it was?
5 of us.
5 of us total?
I think equally as remarkable,
How did you get out? He left the thing unlocked or something, or what?
he did. He had, as we say, he had his ways, and he did a good job, and he took a chance on his life.
Oh yeah, sure.
Big
Because if Mr. Big comes around and says, "Where's your prisoners?"
That's right.
He's got a real lousy answer.
That's right.
Other than, "I took them all back and shot them all."
Mm-hmm.
I guess he could have said that. And he said, "Oh,
Yeah.
good man," and let
He
it go
was
at that.
extremely smart. But what was equally, in my opinion, and it almost brings me to tears, this was in late 1968. And so 68, 78, 88, 98, 08, 18, almost 50 years later,
Mhm.
I get a phone call. And there's an accent. I said, Jim? I said, yes. Who's this? And he said, it's Dwayne. I said, Dwayne? He said, 50 years ago, Laos, shot in the shoulder, you helped me? I said, oh my God. I said, where are you living in Vietnam? He said, I'm not. He said, I'm retired. I live in San Antonio. And I said, what? I said, well, what kind of work? What was your occupation? He said, thanks to you, I was an orthopedic surgeon and I'm retired. When can we get together? And I said, oh, wow. So we have plans on getting together next summer.
That's outrageous.
His wife and my wife. And we both were in tears on the phone. I said, I think we better call each other back.
Yeah. So I guess after the war, he came over here, been here ever since.
Right. And he was South Vietnamese. In his job, he went in, and he was taking a chance without even helping us by going in to see what the South Vietnamese, could do in conjunction with with our military to help get the POWs out to safety better, faster, and more frequently. That was really a wow moment when he called.
Yeah, that would have been outrageous.
Yeah.
That would have been totally outrageous. So you're going to try and catch up with him next year sometime?
Yes.
Fly down there, he's coming up here or something?
We're not sure. Probably we'll go down there. Yeah.
That's something else. That's a heck of a story.
If I had any hair, I'd be standing up right now in my head.
Yeah. That's a heck of a story. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I don't think I ever shared all that.
No, I don't think so either. You know, the first time I bumped into you was 2010.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, towards the end of the year. Fall,
Yeah, it was.
Fall
Yeah.
or winter, something like
Mhm.
that, whatever. But yeah, I don't think that ever came up in anything that we talked about. Typically, the veterans are like that. They have some sort of story that they don't bring out. I've seen that many times. This case it's kind of a good story, you know what I mean? But a lot of them have bad stories where they don't tell everything. So they come in for their evaluation stuff, which is fine and dandy, and they tell me this and they tell me that and they tell me this, and I write it all down and include it in the
Right.
report and stuff.
Right.
But then they continue to come in for, possibly they continue to come in for some time after that. And then in those conversations they says, yeah, and this happened and this happened and this happened. I says, why didn't you say that when we were writing up the report? That would have helped them out considerably. But they didn't. So, you know, and it's some of the stories that they just didn't want to tell anyone. I've had many people come in, many veterans come in, and they tell me things that they've been married for 40 years or whatever, 40 to 50 years or something like that. They still never told their wife some of these stories and stuff, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I really couldn't say anything about it for a number of years. And yes, I did.
Because it was some sort of black ops.
And I did want to say something, I did.
Oh, sure, I'm sure.
Right.
We always want to tell the secrets that we got, you know.
Yeah.
But we can't.
But we can.
We can't. We got to keep our mouths shut and talk around and stuff like that.
But the way that, and I know you've heard this, the way that the Vietnam vets were treated, when I got back, my mom and dad were a little bit late at Lambert, and I'm sitting there, jungle fatigues on, and I'm 75 now, and this old guy, he was probably 50.
At that time.
At that time. And he looked at me and said, hey boy. And I don't respond to hey boy.
Not too rapidly anyway.
No. And he said it again. And then he called me a bleeping baby killer. And I got up, and I didn't realize how much anger I had inside me. I went at him. And I was blessed that on the way back from Washington that I had Black Marine that befriended about 6'4", big guy. And he went over and put his hand around this guy's neck and he said, can you hear me? Yes. Can you see me? His eyes big as saucers. And he said, I'm going to tell you one time, leave. And I think we all have heard of Usain Bolt, the Jamaican runner. This guy at 50 years of age ran faster than Usain Bolt.
Yeah, I'll bet you. I'll bet you. Yeah, Bolt's a fast man.
Oh yeah.
But this guy got real fast too.
Fast.
Terrible that those people did that. They just didn't know what they were doing. I said that they were scared of going to Vietnam, so they were trying to badmouth it as much as possible to make excuse somehow that they wouldn't have to go is really what it was.
But even I got back July 3rd, 69, and my mom and dad had a place out at Melody Lake on the other side of Union, and had some good friends that had 3 wonderful kids. And they said, we're going to go out there tonight. I said, that's great. Spend the 4th, maybe a couple more days. And so I greeted them and hugs and all that. And the neighbor's name was Bill Wobel. And I said, Wilhelm, I have a favor. Would you please let me know when your kids are going to shoot off fireworks? I know that they're going to, but would you please let me know? And my mom, God rest her soul, said, what difference would make your back? Nothing should bother you now. And I said, Mom, don't go there. Well, at about 7 o'clock in the morning, I hear bam, 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 bam. And I mean, I hit the floor and I was reaching for anything I could. Oh my God.
Reaching for any weapon you could.
Anything. And I went down angry as could be. And I said, what did I was screaming, what did I tell you?
So when you told them, give us some warning, was it for that evening sometime?
For that morning, for the next day.
Okay,
it
for
was
the
on
next,
the 3rd.
because he said, okay, so
And-
he said he was going to do this the next day on the 4th.
On the 4th,
of course.
yeah.
And you said, okay, fine, just let
Please,
us know ahead
let
of
me know
time.
ahead.
And he said, okay, we'll do.
And didn't happen. Yes, didn't happen.
Well, then, because it was 7 o'clock in the morning, they started, so the little rascals, right? It wasn't him, was it? Or was it the kids, or who was doing it
The
then?
kids.
The kids were.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't have a good handle on that
He
then.
really didn't.
Did he come around and apologize or anything?
He said, well, you know how those things go? Those things happen, Jim.
See, so he's another person that don't get it.
No.
Yeah. They think that firecrackers, it's just firecrackers, everything will be fine, Danny. Well, yeah, if you're not a PTSD survivor from some sort of war or whatever the situation was, yeah. So, mom didn't understand it, neighbor didn't understand it. A lot of people don't understand it.
No.
But I don't know, you certainly did have the jumpies way back then. You're talking about the story right there. Still? A little bit still.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Because it sounds like the old, the enemy shooting at you.
right.
And that's not a good thing.
No. And I still.
And until you have someone really shooting at you, you don't know what it's like to have
Right.
someone shooting at you.
Right. And in a restaurant, and I know you've heard this, when I go in, I ask for a seat.
A corner seat somewhere.
You better believe it, my back not to the door. And our wonderful little puppy dog doesn't bark much, but every once in a while she'll go to the window and hear or see something in that loud bark, and I jump like a, oh my. And I'm not mad at her, but it's just that.
Well, I know what you're saying. How do you sleep these days? Medications?
Very few. I do go to sleep very quickly, but I wake up several times during the night. For quite a long period of time, I had nightmares almost every night. Now,
Night sweats?
oh, big time, yes.
Still?
Had to change. Very seldom, but would have to change, t-shirts.
Jammies.
Yes. And now, I might have maybe once or twice a month. And
So
that's
for the
about
most
it.
part, you sleep fairly well, or are you just talking about nightmares? Because you say you still you manage to fall asleep fairly quickly.
I do. And
But
then I
you wake up a couple times, and when you're awake, is it right back to sleep again, or are you up for a little bit?
I'm up for a little bit, and I'll read for a little bit. But I started using a CPAP machine, and that's helped. But it's less frequent now, thank God.
But no medications, though.
No medication.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Were you used to be on medications?
I was, and I said, let's
VA meds of some sort?
VA
Sleep,
meds. Yes.
Trazodone, whatever. Ambien.
What's the one? Not Valium, but I can't think of-
Zoloft, sertraline, something like that.
something like that. And I said, no.
Wellbutrin, whatever.
Yeah, I don't want it.
Yeah, a lot of vets don't want that sort of thing. It does not leave them a lot of vets don't want to go to sleep so much because they do not want to be out of control.
Mm-hmm.
When you're asleep, you're very vulnerable.
That's right.
They don't like that. That does not make them feel safe.
And
Medications are very much the same way too. They don't like the medications because it makes them feel strange. And they don't feel like they're able to respond to anything that comes up at all.
Wow. That's the first time I've heard it put that way. Absolutely wrong.
Yeah, it's
spot on.
They're used to what alcohol can do to them. They're used to what marijuana can do to them for those that do that. But the medications from the VA, they just don't like the feeling. They don't feel like they can respond well at all. So they do not like using those medications. Some do, but a lot of them do not.
I went back to 1982, when I lived in Kansas City, and went to a psychologist, and I was jumpy. Had just gotten divorced, and he said, Mr. Conrad, he said, your reality is your unreality. And I said, oh, okay. What?
Sure.
And I understand now what he was talking about. My reality was that I imposed on myself to feel better.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I'm thinking that what you think is real isn't, so therefore it is your unreal.
That's it.
Your unreal is what you think is real.
That's exactly right.
See?
And finally, after a period, I said, no. He was right. I need to get back, live life on life's terms.
And you've been trying to do that fairly well, I guess. It's been a long time since Vietnam. You got out of there 50 years ago this year.
Yeah. And I have gone to several PTSD group sessions, individual sessions about 8 years ago. And I stopped going to the group sessions because there were a few guys that said, I don't know why we're doing this, it doesn't do any good. And they said, shrink, psychologist that doesn't know the first thing about Vietnam.
Sure.
And I stepped in and I said, well, no, they don't. They weren't there. I said, what do you know about psychology? And they said, what are you doing, taking up for them? I said, no. I said, let's get real.
Pretty defensive there.
I said, let's get real. I said, if it's bothering you so much, leave. I said, I came in here in a great mood, and now I'm getting kind of jumpy. I said, please, take what you need and leave the rest. And if you feel that way, talk to them about it. Be open.
Well, there's a lot of vets, I'm sure you know that because you work with the vets quite a bit, try
Right.
to work with the vets quite a bit. So there's plenty of them that go to the group meetings, and many of them do not come away with very good ratings of how the meetings went.
No.
Because they turn into chat sessions about who was at the war and who done this, and you know, I shot more enemy than you shot, and we had more mortars land on us than you had. You know, it's a fishing story there. Where you know, who got the bigger fish type thing.
Right.
But the thing that I'm concerned with too, as long ago as Vietnam was to you, 50 years, and all the, you know, I guess you had medications for a while, that sort of thing there, and you've been out for a long time, many group meetings, counseling, so on and so forth. To think how you still have PTSD.
Yes.
You're still jumpy, have a hard time sleeping. You don't feel, why? What is going on there? What do you think of, can you answer that question? How come?
I don't know.
And as I always say, we got to answer all the I don't knows, otherwise we're still there.
But I used to say continually, why? I don't know why. I try not to do that anymore because I may never know why.
Is it the I woulda, coulda, shouldas? I didn't do a good enough job. I feel bad. I feel guilty. I could have done this. I didn't. I should have done this. I didn't.
It could be part of I didn't do good enough because as an adopted little boy, from the time I was old enough to comprehend until the time that I went in the service. I could never do well enough. It was, well, why don't you do it as good as Dr. Monroe does? Why don't you do it? Because I'm not him. I'm not them.
So you had this personality thing put upon you that you've been living with ever since. But, okay, so you went in, I guess, the military there not feeling too confident. Like you said earlier, you had flat feet. I guess you wanted to join the Marines first.
I did.
And they said, sorry, pal, you got flat feet. Then you went to the Army and they said, sorry, pal, you got flat feet.
Exactly.
And you didn't want to go to the Navy, so you went to the Air Force, and they says, we love people with flat feet, you know, so they signed you right up. They signed you right up. And I guess but the thing that I'm onto all of that, with all the people that you worked with and all the years and so on and so forth, you know, what is it that so you did real good as a medic, and you told some stories here. They're great stories. You came out of it fine and dandy. How come? What's bugging you? What is bugging you? What is bugging you? Is it, you know, like it says, is it a guilt thing? I could have done more. I should have done more. I done wrong. I done bad. I'm going to get clobbered later on in life. Well, you said it was early childhood, that they stigmatized you with this thing that you're not good enough, you're not good enough.
Well,
how do you assess, how do you handle that now? When you look back, how do you deal with that now? Has you not overcome that?
I look back, good question. I look back on that, just started about a month ago, and I said, possibly some parts of your childhood could have and did affect your PTSD. And that part of that is my dad, God rest his soul, was an angry guy. We lived in the country.
So you a veteran?
No. And he was supposed to meet him in our little small town of Marshall at a certain time that my mom had assigned, and I tried to be always 15 minutes early, and I was 20 minutes early, and he was 40 minutes late, and he said, get in the damn car. And I got in the car, and he was angry.
Because you were late.
I was
guess.
early, he was
Oh.
late.
Oh, okay.
But he
okay.
thought I was late. And so we were driving to the farm, we go across this creek, and he stops the car, pulls it over, and got out, came back, and there was some green willow branches, and he proceeded to beat the living poop out of me. I mean, really, really, really bad.
And his issue was you were late.
I was late, and my mom shared with him that he was late because she told him exactly what
Yeah.
time, and I was there 20 minutes early.
So what happened next? You get to whoop the poop out of him?
I had a resentment.
Did he ever apologize?
I did. He did. Yeah, he did. But I had resentment for a long time, and it wasn't really until I've been in AA for a long time.
But when you look back at that
Okay.
thing, don't you say to yourself, Dad blew it, he was wrong, and that's all there is, so I'm the good guy here, I'm right. See, you know, my star shines brighter, he blew it, he made himself look ignorant, dumb, some dang thing, whatever the heck it is. I'm the star of this show. Yeah, he whooped my butt, so who cares about that? I won this one, and he knows it.
I
so
didn't
I'm
for
the
a-
better man.
I didn't for a long time.
You did or did
I
not?
did not for a long time. And then, and going in AA, so resentments are like drinking poison and wait for the other guy or gal to die. And I went to their gravesite 10 years ago, just after you and I had met. And I kneeled, which I hadn't done, and I started crying. And I said, Mom, Dad, I love you, and I owe you an amends, Dad. I won't forget it. I won't forget it, but I'm not going to let it continue to eat at me. You were angry, irritable, and probably discontent. And I have berated myself, beaten myself up
For a long, long time.
for a long time. And
Because
I
of
said,
this, yeah.
and I shouldn't have done that.
There's no doubt about that. The more we read the Bible, the more we find out it answers all our questions about everything.
Amen.
And that's all that we need to get well with PTSD is a bunch of answers to our questions. Why am I here? What am I here for? What am I supposed to do? What is my purpose? What happens when I die? If we knew those answers very well, and all the other parts that contribute to that sort of thing, PTSD would be nothing. We'd see it as a very small thing. This is the land and the time of determination to determine which one will you go to. Anyway, well, let's wrap it up for today. Jim, it was really good talking with you. I'm looking forward to another time when we can get together
Oh.
and continue this chat then, okay? Okay, Pep, thanks so
Thanks.
much for coming in. Thanks so
Thank
much
you for
coming.
asking.
You betcha, you betcha. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. That was a good meeting, a good session with my friend Jim Conrad. We're looking forward to it some more. We want to discuss the PTSD, trauma, and fear of death subject a lot more in depth, so please stay tuned. Again, this is Dr. M at Open Sessions, and we hope that you will send us an email. If you want to be on the show, that's very fine. We hope that you will. Email us at drmopensessions@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much.
Am I still sleeping? Where do